Hey, what's happening everyone? This is Swish Culture. So just recently, the NBA held the draft lottery and teams finally know exactly where they stand as far as what picks they will have. The Warriors were expecting to get anywhere between the 4th and 7th picks through Minnesota, and surprise surprise, we get the 7th pick. Now, I did an earlier mock of the Warriors picks and had us selecting Moses Moody at 6 and Josh Giddey at 14. If you haven't seen that video, you can check it out right here. It goes into detail on the skill sets of those players and how they would fit on the roster. That said, today's video will discuss two completely different players based on new information as we get some additional time to look at these players and evaluate their fit. As we know, the March Madness tournament showed us some very promising players, and when Gonzaga faced off against Baylor, you got to see Jalen Suggs up close. As you know, he's one of the top lottery picks in this year's draft. He, along with Kispert, led the Bulldogs to the finals. On the other hand, you have Davion Mitchell along with Jared Butler, who led the Bears to winning the overall tournament. Now, there are a lot of different ways this draft could go, so I plan on giving you guys at least 3 videos this week on different options for the team and how each player would fit. I'll go over their strengths, their weaknesses, what their role would be on the team, and what the likelihood of that player even being drafted by the Warriors. We do have a number of young guys on the roster currently, so it's feasible that Myers would be looking to get a player with as much experience as possible. Translation: players with a high floor. There is the likelihood of trading the pick, and I believe Myers will explore this option to see what's out there. And with Ben Simmons being rumored to the Warriors, it is also possible that these picks could get swapped for Ben Simmons along with either Andrew Wiggins or Draymond Green. That is a rumor that I will address in a separate video. It all depends on what we can get in terms of a veteran player, and it is all the more important if we're looking to draft a player that we can expect to help us in the now. Now, I'm not going to mock players that have no chance of getting picked up by the Warriors with their 7th and 14th picks, aside from getting a little bit into the players that will likely go undrafted because they will likely get a look at these guys during Summer League as well. The 7th and 14th picks aren't bad picks at all, guys, so I'm looking forward to doing these videos as well as see who the Warriors end up selecting. So let's get started with the first 2 players I'm being sold on at the moment. Don't forget to like the video and please hit that subscribe button. The first player I'll discuss is Davion Mitchell. So Mitchell is a 6'2" point guard. He may actually be closer to 6'1" since these numbers are always fudged, but let's move on. While scoring isn't his strength, for his junior year at Baylor, he did average a decent 14 points per game while maintaining a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, getting 5.5 assists per game. In case you were wondering, that is pretty good. He shot 45% from 3, which is a huge jump for him, considering he only shot 32% the year prior. He does continue to struggle with his free throws as he knocked down just 64% of those. This is actually very bad for a guard. At minimum, he needs to have that above 75%, and he has yet to break 70% in his 3 years in the NCAA. He's not a very good rebounding guard, being only 6'2", and his wingspan isn't really known but suspected to be somewhere between 6'3" and 6'4". He is a shifty guard and uses his athleticism and quickness to his advantage in driving to the rim and can finish with either hand. Though he's not especially explosive, I'd compare him to Tyrese Maxey. He does have some similarities to Donovan Mitchell in some respects. We do need to be careful though when comparing the two, as Donovan has a 6'10" wingspan, and this additional length makes a pretty big difference regarding finishing and defending. Speaking of which, defensively, Davion has been excellent at the college level. I can't say for sure how well this would translate to the NBA, however, due to the underlying factor I mentioned before, which is his average person wingspan. That aside, he's a pesky defender. He's very good on ball and fairly competent on help defense. He has a leader mentality on the floor, which gives him that sense of accountability. He plays with a lot of confidence, and it shows in the maturity of his game where he always seems to make the right reads and the right plays. The next player that the Warriors could draft with the 14th pick is Corey Kispert. Kispert, along with Jalen Suggs, led Gonzaga all the way to the NCAA tournament finals. He is a 6'7" wing that shoots the ball very well with a lightning quick release and did so at a 45% clip. Reminds me a bit of Kyle Korver. He's able to get to his spots and doesn't hesitate to pull the trigger. He did this while averaging almost 19 points per game and pulling down 5 rebounds. The fact that he's able to knock down his free throws at over 87% shows that his percentages will more than likely transfer to the NBA. He's also shooting 53% overall from the field, which is quite impressive. He can put the ball down on switches to exploit matchups as he does here with a 6'10" Isaiah Mobley. Both his 3-point and free throw shooting improved year over year during his 4 years with the Bulldogs, which is a rather good sign. His shooting form is consistent, he shoots with a lot of confidence, and he was knocking down his shots from NBA range, which means as long as he can get open, we can expect to see the same at the next level. The key here is getting open. Sharing the floor with Suggs meant a lot of the attention was directed to his teammate rather than him. And while his record prior to Suggs would indicate he'd likely thrive in a similar manner regardless, it is something we do want to take into account. Defensively, he could use some work. He seems to have the fundamentals and closes out against opposing shooters. However, quick guards seem to be able to get some separation and get off their shot. If the opposing player is not a very good shooter or he tries to drive, Kispert will likely win in this situation. But when they don't, they make him pay. His 6'8" wingspan, while not impressive for his height, may not exactly be a hindrance. While he is no Klay Thompson, Klay's wingspan is very similar at 6'9". This would be my only area of concern, and a few tweaks here and there with the right player in the right environment may allow Kispert to elevate that portion of his game, which will tremendously increase his value and his production. So what exactly are the chances that the Warriors actually draft these two players? I'd give it a 7 out of 10. If the Warriors use the 7th pick to draft Mitchell and the 14th pick to draft Kispert, they're likely looking to benefit from these players' experience. The team would not be expecting players with high ceilings, but if certain things work in favor of the players, it is a big bonus. It's hard to argue against using the picks on these two. I'd expect Mitchell to get minutes alongside Poole initially, as it gives the bench some added facilitating without sacrificing defensively. Both can play off-ball to an extent and give the Warriors the most talented second unit they've had in a while. Either player can handle the ball or shoot, and it would create a very dynamic backcourt. The downside of this is that Poole is only 6'4", so it would be a somewhat small backcourt as well. While this may be how it starts out, a better fit would be to play Poole along with a 6'7" Jessup or with Kispert. This adds size along with the outside shooting. We will lose a little defensively, but this is where Kerr can exploit matchups and slot the players in depending on who the Warriors are facing. The flip side is that we could also play Poole and Mitchell with either Jessup or Kispert as well. Jessup would be evaluated against Kispert as they occupy somewhat of the same space on the bench. So there is the possibility that we can't have these two players, and with Kispert being selected with the higher draft pick, I expect him to get the first option to show what he can do at this level. If these backcourt duos work, that leaves a lot less space for some of the guys that we currently do have, namely Nico Mannion, Gary Payton, Michael Mulder, and Kent Bazemore. The issue with Bazemore wouldn't be his ability to play, but more so with what he expects on a contract. Mulder, on the other hand, though he's athletic and had a good overall shooting year, his shot is very inconsistent and he does remarkably better when the team isn't relying on him to score, so his spot is at risk. Payton has excellent defense but very limited offense, and Nico still needs development. The Warriors may post these guys in the G League if Mitchell and Kispert work out with Poole and Jessup. Don't be surprised if some of these names mentioned are traded, namely Nico and Mulder. Their values aren't completely shot, however, with the potential players incoming, it might be much better value to move them. Of course, this is all speculation, but these are the motions that will likely be visited by the Warriors as we head into the actual draft on July 29th and then Summer League the following week in August. Let me know what you think of Mitchell and Kispert in the comments below. Who would you move on the team to make space for these players on the roster? Would you even use the draft picks, or would you trade them? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys, like and share the video, and make sure to turn on all notifications. Till next time. Swish.
I got so hard, sweetie get served. Call me Lonzo Ball, bitches get swerved.
Usually I don't get down with these girls, but tonight it's on my mind, so I might eat these words. I just wanna